When businesses plan for outages or disruptions in their normal business operations, this is known as business continuity planning. These can be anything from natural disasters to malicious attacks like denial of service attacks, power outages, malfunctions with equipment, unplanned maintenance, as you would refer to it in a cloud setting. All of these things can be incorporated into what's known as a business continuity plan, or a plan that identifies the steps an organization will take when one of those outages occurs. That plan is the business continuity plan, often abbreviated as BCP. One of the first steps in creating a business continuity plan is to set up a business impact analysis, or a BIA. The business impact analysis identifies the key components of a business, what the business needs to function, and its key systems ranked by order of importance, basically. So the business impact analysis will take a look at all of the systems, all of the assets, the resources, the personnel, and determine which of those is the most critical, rank them in order of criticality. So some organizations will have different importance placed on certain business aspects. A streaming service like Netflix would place high importance on streaming servers, because without those, without its ability to deliver content to its viewers, it loses its entire business model. Right? Maybe it's HR servers or its databases that store HR personnel information for Netflix employees. It probably would be less critical than those streaming servers. Just as one example, Spotify would place high importance on its music streaming servers. Those would be, without those, it could not deliver its content to its customers. So a physical brick and mortar store would place high importance on the availability of maybe the payment processing system used to process credit card payments within the store, because it doesn't rely on an online server to provide its services. It relies on that store and the ability to take product payments at that store. So if a business process is identified as vulnerable and there's risks associated with that business process, those risks need to be identified and addressed within that business continuity plan. So if you have processes that are highly critical, you might want to consider providing backups, providing a plan to get those systems back online in case of an outage. The business impact analysis itself is not a plan of action. That plan is a business continuity plan, but the BIA is used to determine the impacts into different areas of the business. And those areas are considered based on the following categories: life, property, safety, finance, and reputation. The impact to human life is the most important and should be considered first when conducting any business impact analysis. How safe are your employees? How safe are the personnel? And how is their safety protected in the event of a disaster or an outage? For example, when designing a data center, you should keep in mind how personnel will be able to exit the data center in case there's a fire. Fires a form of man-made or natural disaster that can cause a major outage within a data center. Life should be considered first when addressing contingency plans and mitigation strategies for the risk of fire. How will personnel escape the data center? Are there enough egress points for personnel to exit the facility securely and quickly? Risks to property include risks to physical assets, and when cloud computing, this is usually the risks to the data center. There are different types of risks that can be associated. There are man-made risks, such as insider threat, malicious insider activity, or external malicious activity. Then there's theft of property. There's also natural disasters or environmental threats, such as hurricanes, tornadoes, strong storms, floods, and fire. Safety, similar to life, but safety is also involves a analysis of how an outage will increase the danger within a certain area. So if there's an outage, say, due to a flood, will that increase the risk of other hazards like electric shock? Or if there's a fire, will that make a safety hazard with smoke inhalation? The business impact analysis also takes a look at what the impacts would be from a financial sense in the organization. Will loss of services or an outage cause a disruption to the company or the organization's ability to generate revenue? In our Netflix example, if the streaming servers or the content delivery servers are taken offline, will that affect Netflix's interview, its ability to obtain new clients and keep the clients it already has? And then reputation. The impacts to reputation can be very hard to measure, but if a company is subjected to an outage that's noticeable by the public, or it is something that becomes a news event, then the organization can suffer reputation hits which would impact finances and impact the organization's ability to be trusted by its clientele. Reputation is often the hardest to measure because it's difficult to ascertain what your customers are thinking about you. But the reputation impact is something that really needs to be addressed and considered. Many organizations have seen significant drops in profit margin and revenue after suffering an outage just because their clients and the public no longer trust that company. When performing business continuity planning, it's important to understand these two terms: the mean time between failures and the mean time to recover. The mean time between failures is a mathematical calculation of the average or the mean time between outages. So this is often, it could be measured in any type of time you like, usually in days. Days is the most common form of measurement. It could be measured in hours. But the mean time between failure would just be the average number of days or hours between each failure. And you would just take that by measuring the number of outages over a set period of time and then dividing that time frame by the number of outages. So the mean time between failure is used to address and calculate the reliability of different systems and business functions within an organization. Organization may have several different business functions that all have different mean times between failure, or MTBFs. And then the mean time to recover is the average time it takes for an organization to recover from an outage, to restore back to normal operating state. And that's the same calculation. You take a time frame after an outage, and then you determine how long it took the organization to recover from that outage. And then you would do that for each outage of the same type. You would add all those together and divide by the number of, or by the number to get the average. So these are averages. These are average numbers. So remember, you might have some outages that take much longer, maybe a couple, 8 hours to recover from, while some might only take 30 minutes. You're going to get an average. Depending on the quality and the quantity of data, you're going to get a more or less accurate average. But these are used in business continuity planning to determine where the organization can invest more time and resources, or to increase their chances of performing a better recovery.